Assalamu alaikum dear students, this is our fourth lecture, and in our last lecture we were talking about critical discourse analysis. We read some of the definitions of critical discourse analysis and we read some of the principles of critical discourse analysis. The first two principles that Brian Poltridge has discussed, we talked about in our last lecture, and they were social and political issues are constructed and reflected in discourse. Number two, power relations are negotiated and performed through discourse. Our next principle of critical discourse analysis is discourse both reflects and reproduces social relations. You know, it is through language, it is through my discourse that I create, I make, I generate new kind of social relations. If I want to make friendship with someone, so I know that what kind of language I am supposed to use, what kind of discourse I am supposed to produce, and how I can bring that person round, and or how I can convince that person who is disagreeing with me. So our social relations, they are produced, they are reflected with the help of discourse. So you will find that there is a letter that Brian Poltridge discusses in order to explore this principle, and he says that the letter was sent to the people to read and find out that where they stand. So this you should read and see that how through discourse their social relations are reflected and reproduced. Ideologies are produced and reflected in the use of discourse. So our ideology or ideology of any society, it is produced, it is reflected, it is generated, it is expressed, it is represented, it is enacted through discourse. As I gave you the example of 10th class English textbook that we have, and I said that usually it starts with the Holy Prophet, or it starts with the message from the Holy Quran, from Allah Almighty. So it is our ideology which is there. So we always try that when we are producing our discourse, it should not hurt the feelings and emotions of the people. It should not hurt. It should not create problem. So far as the values, the traditions, the culture, the ideology of a particular society or of our society is concerned. We take care because we believe and we know that here most of the people are Muslims, so we will try to produce our discourse which will further improve, further cement, strengthen the kind of ideology that we believe in. Because we cannot resist, or we cannot, it is very difficult to go against the ideology, to go against the culture of a particular society, of a particular group of people. Then let me read some of the more things. Ideological inscriptions and values are inseparable. You cannot separate, ideology from the discourse. To discuss the fact that there is inflexibility between concept and object, and signifier and signified, and these are also associated with capitalist production and consumption by the social relation. So even this capitalistic ideology which believes in consumerism, which believes that we should look at the interest of the consumer, what the consumer likes, what the consumer believes in. That is why when new modern gadgets, new mobiles are being created, they always look into the perspective of the consumer, and they in their advertisement will always talk about benefits for the consumer. What is there in that particular product for the consumer? And they will say you will look young, you will look good, you will look better, okay, your status will change if you have this thing, if you buy this thing. So the advertisement of a shampoo will say that it will help strengthen your hair, it will help brighten your hair, it will help regrow your hair, it will help that stop your hair from breaking. So such type of things are there. And then these days we have got shampoo for men and shampoo for women and shampoo for kids. So one bottle of shampoo is not enough these days when you are in the market. You will have to buy 3 bottles of shampoo. All capitalistic society. As if the shampoo, knows the difference between men and women. So ideologies, economic ideologies, this capitalistic ideology, it works. And all these things are produced and reflected in the use of discourse. So these were some of the principles of critical discourse analysis that Brian Poltridge discusses in his book. Let me read some of the more agenda points, or we can say program, of the CDA. Language plays a vital role in indicating subjectivity consciously or unconsciously. So in critical discourse analysis, the very first thing that we analyze is the language itself. We start to look at that how language is being produced, how discourse is being produced, how or what kind of language is used. Is it the emotional use of language, or is it going to hit your mind and heart? What kind of sentences are used, what kind of words are used, whether the author has made use of longer sentences or shorter sentences. So we look at the text, we look at the language. Language plays a vital role in critical discourse analysis. So when you are analyzing that how social and political issues are constructed and reflected, we look at the language first of all. For example, there is an example of Singapore's Speak Mandarin campaign given in the book. The aim of the campaign was to connect Chinese Singaporeans with Chinese cultural traditions, to help counter negative effects of westernization, to attract foreign investment, especially from China. So what kind of headlines are made? Mandarin, window to Chinese culture. And I still remember 5 years back, when we were having the CPAC project, coming to Pakistan, people were talking about Chinese language. And many people were interested in Chinese language. And still today, we see that our Chinese department is full of Chinese students who are learning Chinese language because they want to become the part of the CPAC, and they want to go to China, and they feel that they may have some, financial benefit, some good kind of job due to this CPAC. So how headlines are created, how discourse is reflected when we analyze the Singapore Speak Mandarin campaign. Speak Mandarin, it's an asset. Speak Mandarin, your children's future depends on you. Why should our children's future depend on us? We can give them guideline, no doubt, but they should work hard for themselves as well. But such type of discourses are created, and people will say that I have bought this plot which is so far from Rawalpindi and Islamabad. Right now that place is a kind of jungle forest, but they have made investment. This investment I have made for my kids. They don't know whether they will live tomorrow or not, but they are making investment for their kids. Why don't you let your kids do something for themselves, give them good education, make them good human beings? Let them prepare for the future themselves. Let them earn themselves. Everybody is thinking that I should do this thing, I should do that thing, I should earn this much money, I should earn that much money. So such type of discourses, they surround us. And they also reflect the ideology, they also reflect the mindset of the people who are doing this thing. Cool and contemporary relevance of Mandarin. The discourse of campaign constructs the view of Mandarin as a language that has both social, cultural and economic value for the people of Singapore. As you know, in Pakistan also we have different kinds of discourses are generated when there is an election campaign and people start blaming, their opponents. So new Pakistan ideology is created. And old Pakistan is shown, where broken streets and broken roads are being displayed everywhere. So this is how discourse works. This is how, discourse convinces the other person that you should either be with me, and if you are not with me, it means you are with them. And nobody is neutral, with us or with them. So binary is created. Again, I remember now structuralism. In structuralism, there is always binary which is created, and something which is on the left side of the binary is given priority, and something which is on the right side of the binary is degenerated. So man is on the left side and woman is on the right side. So man is given priority and woman is not given any preference or priority. West is on the left side and east is on the right side. So west is always good and east is always bad. So good is on the left side and bad, wickedness is on the right side, so it is always bad. So this is how, keeping in mind such type of things, we create different kinds of ideologies. Gender is constructed. So much so, people raise questions about the Holy Quran. Without understanding the Holy Quran, they say the Holy Quran, Nauz Billah, is a gendered text. One of my research articles, I, along with my co-author, we worked on different translations of the Holy Quran, and we tried to analyze that the problem lies with the translation. The problem lies with the translator who has created this translation, not with the Holy Quran. Allah Almighty is saying, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, e iman walo. But the translator is saying, O men. Instead of O people, translator is saying, O men. So when you say O men, you are excluding women from the translation, and people feel that, Nauz Billah, even this Holy Quran is a gendered text. One of my MPhil research scholar is working on human rights document, and we have seen the Urdu translation of that document. In English it is said, slavery is not good. No one should be held in slavery. But in Urdu, the translator has made a mistake talking about, the concept of londi and londa. That there is a slave man and there is a slave woman. So this is how you see even this, the ideology, it is working in translation. Instead of talking about Ghulami, instead of talking about slavery, the translator created gender in the translation, as if the Holy Quran or the text is talking about, slave men and slave women. So we need to understand, when we have just analyzed this Singapore Speak Mandarin campaign, that how discourses, they are generated, they are created, they are enacted, they are disseminated among the people, and they are made truthful. Discourse, power relations are negotiated and performed through discourse. Conversational interactions, who controls conversational interaction, who allows the person to speak, how they do this. Radio show, caller host, So you may have come across, there are different programs where the host is the most important person, and he knows who will speak at this time and who will not speak, and he knows who will be given preference, whose point of view will be taken as truthful, will be given preference, and whose point of view will be backgrounded, whose point of view will be foregrounded, and whose point of view will be backgrounded. Discourse both reflects and reproduces social relations. Social relations are both established and maintained through the use of a discourse. So there is another example given in the book, for example, Tony Blair's wife, Carrie Blair, in the media. Reporter knows that he is talking about the wife of the Prime Minister. So of course he will be writing good things. He will be saying a lawyer, a wife, a working mother, and establish a relationship between her and public, and especially other working mothers. So it is up to a reporter that how he is reporting her, how he is presenting her, how he is giving its representation. Because I am watching television, sitting in home, I don't know what is happening actually in that particular place from where the event is being broadcast. So media is showing me. Now the cameraman has got a camera. If cameraman shows from this side, I can see only this side. I don't know what is happening here. I don't know what is happening here. If the camera shows from this perspective, I don't know what is happening here. I don't know what is happening here. So this is how different kinds of perspectives, they are created, they are generated, they are made truthful for the people, and people start believing in them. Representing and constructing society such as relations of power based on gender, class, and ethnicity. So in language, there are black people, there are white people, though the world says that we do not believe in such type of discrimination, and we should not, because this is the teachings of our Holy Prophet ﷺ as well. All people are equal. But if you are muttaqi, if you are parhezgar, if you are doing righteous deeds, then you are better in the eyes of Allah than those who are not doing anything good and spreading mischief in the society. Otherwise, all people are equal, and this priority or preference is not given on the basis of color, on the basis of ethnicity. So when you give preference on the basis of class, gender, or ethnicity, okay, this is called discrimination, this is called marginalization. Negative attitude towards non-standard social dialects of English. If you speak good English, people will say, oh, he is a good person, he knows everything, he is very knowledgeable. And if you cannot speak English, even if you are a very learned person, people will say he does not know anything. So this is another kind of discrimination, okay? Negative views of the people who are speaking non-standard dialects. Milson and Brewster, US restaurants workers' view of customers. White workers view black customers in negative terms. They use stereotypes to perform their expectations about future interactions to black customers and other African Americans. So critical discourse analysis agenda is to point out such type of discrimination, to see that the text that you are reading, there should not be any biases, there should not be any prejudices, there should not be any discrimination, and if they are there, your job as a critical discourse analyst is to highlight, is to show that how the text is hiding such type of ideology, is to show that how this text is representing such type of ideology where there is discrimination. Critical discourse analysis wants to end discrimination in the society. Discourse of difference, speaking in black customers and distancing themselves from them. So these are different kinds of researches, okay, people have done. You can read them in detail at home. Workers' use of discourse privilege their own race and social class, reflecting their ideological, stereotyped views of both groups of customers. Our media and all media, usually they misrepresent the people of the other culture, the people of the other country. Like Indian media, they will always speak against us, showing Muslims having long beard and shalwar above their ankles, having guns in their hands and killing the innocent people, which is not the case. I was in America and somebody asked me the same questions. Oh, you are going back to your country in 2015. Be careful, there is terrorism in your country. I said, there is no terrorism. And we are not mad. Why should we kill our Muslim brothers and sisters without any reason? But media, Indian movies, Western media, they always show Muslims stereotypically, showing their biases, their prejudices, exploiting and manipulating, okay, their resources, representing us. Oh, that is why passage to India, Dr. Aziz is being punished. All the blame is leveled against him, that he is involved in malpractices. Already had 2 wives or 1 wife. She has died. Interested in more women. So such type of stories they create and they spread about a particular culture, about a particular class, about a particular people. So we know what is happening in Kashmir. We know how different kinds of atrocities, Indian forces, they are, inflicting upon our Muslim Kashmiri brothers and sisters. And the whole world is silent. Nobody is speaking for them. This is the discrimination. If something bad happens here, everybody will come and talk about, oh, there is terrorism, there are terrorist acts in Pakistan. But nobody today talks about Indian, forces, that what kind of atrocities they are inflicting on the Muslims. And how Muslims are degraded all over the world. We know in Myanmar what happened. CDA studies aim to make connection between social and cultural practices and the values and assumptions that underlie the discourse. They try to reveal what people say and do in their use of discourse in relation to their views of the world, themselves, and in relation of each other. So keeping in mind our relationship with the other nations, people, they always talk about their relationship. Nobody likes that we have good relationship with China. They cannot digest this thing. Why do we have this project of CPAC? They cannot digest this thing. CDA maintains that the relationship between language and meaning is never arbitrary, in that the choice of particular genre or rhetorical strategy brings with it particular presuppositions, meanings, ideologies, and intentions. There are always presuppositions, there are always particular meanings which are being generated, which are being created through different kinds of texts, through different kinds of discourses, and then they are spread all over the world. So when we read the book, see, complaining about your neighbor, choose an appropriate genre, because genre has got internal and external structures. And if you know those structures, and if you know how to work with those structures, you can produce the genre, you can produce your own discourse, which has got values, culture, tradition, which has got presuppositions and ideologies. Critical discourse analyst's job is to find out those underlying ideologies, to highlight those underlying ideologies, to explore, to examine those ideologies. So the key focus of critical discourse analysis is that how sociocultural practices are reflected in the discourse, how they reinforce and produce the same kind of ideologies. So discourse practices are sociocultural practices. Now, let me introduce to you Fairclough's 3D model of critical discourse analysis. We can call it doing critical discourse analysis. How to do critical discourse analysis. So first of all, you should decide what kind of genre you have taken. Is it a speech? Is it an essay? Okay. And the very first thing is your linguistic analysis. The very first level of analysis, also called micro level of analysis, is linguistic analysis. Why it is micro? Because you particularly, specifically look at the language which is being produced by the author. What kind of language he is producing? What kind of sentences he is producing? What kind of nouns, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs he's using? Because intentionally, after thinking a lot, he is producing this discourse. And then with the help of these words, what kind of meanings he is generating, what he is showing and what he is not showing, what he is telling and what he is not telling, what is on the surface level, what kind of meanings are there, and what is in the deeper level, what kind of metaphors, what kind of figures of speech the author is making use of. So at micro level, we try to understand, we try to look at the language specifically. Whether the sentences are bigger or shorter. Has it got clauses, or how many clauses, or what kind of clauses, and what kind of meanings these clauses are producing. So when you specifically look at the language, that is called micro level analysis. The second level of analysis is meso level analysis. Fairclough calls it meso level analysis, and I think it is given in the book as well, if I can find it. In meso level analysis, we look at the relationship of the author with the reader. First level is also called textual analysis, also called micro analysis. Second level is called discourse practice, also called meso level analysis. And third level is called sociocultural practices, also called macro level analysis. So we are here at second level, meso level, where we try to understand the relationship of the author with the text, the relationship of the author with the reader, the relationship of the text with the reader. Why has the author created this text? From where has the author created this text? Why has the author created this text? What are his aims and objectives? What is the agenda behind the creation of this text? We try to explore, we try to examine, we try to analyze, we try to get the answers of these questions. Who is the reader? Where the reader is residing? Is he in the same country, or is he outside the country? National level or at international level? Who is producing the text? For whom is the text produced? What is the relationship between the reader and the writer? So when we try to explore, when we try to get the answers of these questions from the text, we are doing second level of analysis, that is called discourse practice, or that is called Meso level analysis. The third level of analysis is called socio-cultural practice, or macro level analysis, where we try to explore, we try to understand by going beyond the sentence, the bigger issues, the bigger picture, that how words, they are put together, they are combined together, and paragraph is produced, and paragraphs are combined together, an essay is produced, or a bigger essay is produced, and a bigger picture is produced, and what is the role of the author, and what is the role of the reader, and from what perspective a particular text is produced, what the text is foregrounding, what the text is backgrounding, and then what kind of ideology, overall ideology, it is reinforcing, it is creating, it is enacting. In political speeches, let me clarify the concept of foregrounding and backgrounding. In political speeches, we focus on our strengths and our opponent's weaknesses. We put them at the back. We background our weaknesses and we foreground our strengths. And this is what these politicians, they do. So the text is doing almost the same thing. Where the author is sitting, try to find out what is his agenda, why he is writing this text for you, what kind of analysis you want to do, what he is showing and what he is concealing. So when you look at this bigger picture, that is macro level analysis. So when these three kind of analyses, they are put together, you are doing critical discourse analysis. And inshallah, once we are online, I will be giving you some passages to analyze and try to apply these three different levels of critical discourse analysis, or this model of 3D model of critical discourse analysis on various paragraphs. So before I end this lecture, let me summarize. In our last two lectures, we have talked about critical discourse analysis. We have talked about different principles of critical discourse analysis. We have looked at the vital role of language, that how language plays its role, how discourse is created, how it disseminates certain ideologies, how it reinforces different kinds of ideologies. Because text, it has got values, it has got agenda, it has got our likes and dislikes, they are politically motivated. So we read different principles of critical discourse analysis, and the job of the critical discourse analysis is to highlight the hidden agenda of the text, to find out the biases and prejudices which underlie the text, to find out the marginalization and discrimination which exist in the society because of the text, because of the discourse that we are producing, that we are disseminating. And in the end, we talked about 3D model of critical discourse analysis given by Fairclough. Thank you very much.